I'm going into business with a friend. What should we be considering that we haven't yet when it comes to the division of equity and responsibilities? Going into this, what should be equity? Well, starting a business with somebody else, which you should do because it's very difficult to do by yourself, is always something that it can is basically like a marriage. I mean, if you think about it, when you start a company with another person, you probably will spend more time with them during that period than you will your own family, potentially your own wife or your own spouse. It's probably more than your kids, and so you will. This is a person that you obviously need to have a very clear relationship with, and the how you divide up equity, how you divide up responsibilities is always a very, very tough question. And one that, if you don't get it right in the beginning, which is always a difficult conversation to have, it's a much, much more difficult conversation to have 1 year down the road, 2 year down the road, 3 years down the road. And so one of the things I think that makes that easy is you need to have that conversation up front, be very clear. And not everyone can do the same job, nor should they. But as part of the founding team, we should all be supporting one another. But ideally, you have a person who is maybe the technology guy, maybe you have another person who is better at the product, another person who brings expertise in terms of maybe operations or fundraising or something of that matter. And so you need to look at what each of your individual skills are and be very honest and truthful about those. Where I've seen people get burned is where they're not very upfront. They don't have those tough conversations in the beginning, and roles and responsibilities are not clearly defined, and the equity component is not necessarily either clearly defined, which is always a mistake, or you're not out of whack, and someone's may not be carrying their load or not adding as much value. Those are always very, very tough conversations. So my biggest piece of advice would be make sure you have those conversations now and up front. And the split of labor and equity, there's several articles online you should look at, and depending on the role and responsibility, there are guidelines for how much equity you should be taking versus your other founders or people that come in later. And so you should do a search. There's a lot of articles around that, and then just be very clear on who's doing what.